Welcome to Amazon Academy. I am Vipul Mehta. How are you guys? Good morning. Good morning, Mudit. Good morning, Tanish. Good morning, Purvanch. So, we are going to study coordination compounds today, and this is one chapter which is very highly scoring. It's one chapter which requires a lot of understanding, though it is based out of inorganic. You don't have to remember a lot of things here. You can actually understand and get done with a lot of your problems. So, what will happen is I will cover the lecture, I will cover the concepts, and then I'll ask you questions at the end of the class, like I always do, and then all of you will have to tell me the answers. Okay, so all set, all set. Hi SD, hi MO, good morning, good morning. All set, guys. Shall we start? Good morning, KP. Good morning, Purvanch. Should we start the lecture today? All set? Okay, let's start. Hi, Athar. We will cover the full chapter. Yes, we will revise the full chapter, mostly the important parts. Okay. So, for people who don't know me, I'm Vipul Mehta, BTech IIT Bombay. If you have Physical Chemistry by Wiley Publication, I'm the author of that book. What we are going to do today is we are going to cover the fundamental concepts of coordination compounds, which are going to be important. Primarily synergic bonding, Sidgwick's EAN rule, crystal field theory, color of coordination compounds, stability parameters, IUPAC nomenclature, structural isomerism, stereoisomerism, and application of coordination compounds. So this is what we are going to do today. Hi Aman, good morning. Okay, so this is on the basis of what is coming in the papers for the last 10 years. Okay, and this is on the basis of what is important and what might come. Okay, so the first thing is synergic bonding. So what is a classical or a simple ligand? A classical or a simple ligand is, let's say this is a central metal atom M. So if this is a central metal atom M, you have a ligand which donates electrons. Okay, so what will happen is this central metal M will have the ligands which are going to donate electrons, and this is basically what happens. There is no back bonding in this case. Okay, so basically the ligand donates the electrons, the metal accepts the electrons. This is the central metal atom. So this is pretty straightforward, like most of the cases, X, O2 minus, OH minus, H2O, etc. This is fine. Now what is synergic bonding? Synergic bonding is the case in which you have a metal ligand bond, in which the ligand gives the bond. At the same time, if you see this, the electrons are going from the central metal atom to the ligand through back bonding. Now since it is back bonding, it's basically I will say this back bonding is known as synergic bonding. Now I have to ask you one question. Tell me, if I say, let's take the example of metal carbonyl. Okay, how many electrons do carbon monoxide have? Carbon is 6 electrons, oxygen is 8 electrons. So can I say it is a 14 electron system? Yes or no? So can I say it is just like N2? N2 is also 14 electron system. So if the central metal atom gives the electron, if the central metal atom gives the electron, can you tell me the electron will enter where? Bonding or anti-bonding? So if I take N2, this is English session, yes. For English, you will have at 1 p.m. Okay, NA. So if I ask you, if this carbon and oxygen, okay, they are 14 electron system, and if the metal is giving the electron, if I draw the molecular orbital diagram, right, what will be the configuration of N2? Sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s2, sigma 2s2, sigma star 2s2, then pi 2py2, pi 2pz2, then sigma 2px2. Yes or no? This is the 14 electron system I am talking about. So where will the next electrons enter? The next electrons will enter the anti-bonding, yes or no? So if the central metal atom gives any electrons, they will enter the anti-bonding molecular orbital. So if they enter anti-bonding molecular orbitals, can I say that since electrons from central metal atom will enter anti-bonding molecular orbital of carbon monoxide, can I say bond order of CO will decrease, because bond order is bonding electrons minus anti-bonding electrons by 2. This is bond order. Yes or no? So if the bond order of CO will decrease, can I say the bond length of CO will increase? Yes or no? So can I say as extent of synergic bonding or back bonding increases, bond length of CO increases? Yes or no? Is this clear to everyone? So this is very important. So now understand one thing. How will I know that the extent of synergic bonding increases? As negative charge on central metal atom increases, synergic bonding increases. So for example, if I take NiCO4, I take CoCO4 minus, and if I take FeCO4 2 minus, here nickel is in 0, here cobalt is in -1, here iron is in -2. So basically, if I ask you what is the extent of synergic bonding, I will say the synergic bonding will be maximum in FeCO4 2 minus. So for example, if I ask you between CO0, so NiCO4, CoCO4 minus and FeCO4 2 minus. Suppose I give you this example. So if I ask you, is the negative charge increases, the charge here is 0, the charge here is -1, and the charge here is -2. So if I ask you what is the extent of synergic bonding, what will be your answer? NiCO4 will be least because nickel is in 0, then it will be CoCO4 minus, then it will be FeCO4 2 minus. So if this is the extent of synergic bonding, if I ask you what is CO bond length order, so more is the extent, the more will be the bond length. So this will be your answer. This less than this, less than this. Yes or no? So this is how CO bond length will increase. Also, as this back bonding increases, this M and L will come closer. So so understand, if this red bond is stronger, okay, this yellow bond will also be stronger because they will come together. So if this yellow bond is stronger, this one, if this bond is stronger, can I say that as synergic bonding increases, the metal or carbon bond length decreases because they will come closer? Yes or no? So in this case, if I ask you what is the metal carbon bond length in carbon monoxide, so basically I will say it will be just opposite of what it is in. So extent of synergic bonding is maximum here. So metal carbon bond length will be shortest here. Clear? Is this clear to all of you? Yes or no? Shall we proceed, guys? Perfect. Is it okay? Perfect. Okay, I'll just give you another example. If you are given PR3, so P is phosphorus, R can be anything. So R can be, let's say, methyl group, R can be H, R can be ethyl group, it can be anything. Okay, so tell me one thing. If I say that you have a central metal atom like this, okay, so one is a normal bond which is happening. Now this phosphorus has vacant d orbitals. So if the phosphorus has vacant d orbitals, can I say it will accept the electrons from the central metal atom? Yes or no? Through back bonding. So can I say this is also a case of synergic bonding? Yes or no? So PR3 will also be a case of synergic bonding if it is one of the ligands. Yes or no? Simple enough. Now there are some other cases which they might ask you, for example, Z salt. So Z salt is PtCl3 eta 2 C2H4. What do you mean by eta 2? Eta means when you have a pi bonded system which is acting as a ligand. Eta 2 means you have a two-membered pi bonded system. So what can be a two-membered pi bonded system? It can be a double bond, it can be a triple bond. If it is C2H4, it is double bond. So basically this double bond is acting as a ligand. So for example, if I ask you that this double bond is acting as a ligand, this double bond is acting as a ligand. So if I say PtCl3, now this is a square planar compound, so 3 chlorine will be in the same plane. The fourth one will be perpendicular, because if it is perpendicular, only then basically this pi bond can act as a ligand. So first of all, if I ask you, due to synergic bonding, what will happen? C2H4 due to synergic bonding, can I say this CC bond length will increase? Yes or no? Just like CO bond length increase, CC bond length will increase, because it's just like resonance. If you have back bonding, this will be ... single bond, and ... is nothing like resonance. Or can I say that the CC bond length will be greater than what it is right now? Yes or no? So first of all, due to synergic bonding, I can say that the CC bond length will increase. This is perpendicular, C2H4 is perpendicular to the plane. If it was instead of C2H4, we had C2H2, then also the same case would have happened. C2H2 would have been perpendicular and the CC bond length will increase. Yes or no? Is it clear to everyone? So these are some questions which they might ask you, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. If I say something like ferrocene, what is ferrocene? What is ferrocene? So ferrocene is Fe eta 5 C5H5 whole twice. So how does ferrocene looks like? It looks like this. You have one negative charge which is delocalized here, you have Fe2 plus, and you have another negative charge delocalized here. So basically this is a sandwiched compound. Eta 5 is a 5-membered ring which can act as a ligand. So this is a 5-membered ring and it is a pi bonded system. If I have to show eta 5, this is eta 5. See, it is aromatic. Yes or no? You have a 5-membered ring and this whole electron cloud can act as a ligand. So this is ferrocene, it is a sandwiched compound. Okay, if I ask you what is, okay, I will explain eta to you. Suppose I say bisbenzene chromium. Suppose I give you this compound, chromium eta 6 C6H6 twice. Suppose I give you this compound. Now what does eta 6 means? It means you have, eta means you have a pi bonded system. 6 means you have a 6-membered pi bonded system. Can you tell me a 6-membered pi bonded system which can be used, or which whose electron count can be used? Benzene, pretty simple. So can I say this is benzene? Chromium is sandwiched between these benzenes. So now you understand. It is clear to everyone. So whenever eta is written, it means that you have a pi bonded system. Perfect. Brilliant. Shall we proceed, guys? Okay, next thing, Sidgwick's effective atomic number. What do you mean by effective atomic number? Effective atomic number means total number of electrons which is present with the central metal atom. So if I am the central metal atom, I will have my electrons which are Z. Z is equal to number of protons. So number of protons is equal to number of electrons. So Z is the number of electrons which I will have. If the oxidation number is plus 2, that means I have lost 2 electrons. So it will be minus my oxidation state. And plus I accept electrons from the ligand. So whatever the coordination number, if the coordination number is 2, I accept 2 into 2 electrons, because one electron pair implies, so coordination number is 4 means the electron pair which I accept is 4. So if I ask you what is the number of electrons which I will accept, it will be 4 into 2. So this is the formula of effective atomic number. The total number of electrons it itself has minus oxidation number plus coordination number into 2. Now according to Sidgwick, if this number of Z comes out to be 36 or 54 or 86, all these are what? These are all noble gases. According to his theory, the compound is stable. So for example, if I take FeCN642 minus, it is iron 2 plus, so Z is equal to 26, oxidation number is minus 2, yes it is English class, plus 6 into 2, so it will be 36. So according to Sidgwick, this is stable. If I do it for MnCO5, Z is 25, oxidation number of this compound is 0, manganese is 0, coordination number is 5 into 2, so basically 35, so this will be unstable. If I do it for FeCN3 minus, 26 minus iron is in plus 3, plus coordination number is 6 into 2, 35. Now understand one thing, according to Sidgwick, this is the rule, but is it actually true always? No. For example, FeCN6 minus, SU right now, instead of feeling demotivated, try and focus on things which you might know. So for example, there are 100 things and you don't know 100, try to learn 2 and go to the exam rather than just crying over it. Okay, you will not get anything if you feel, see, sympathy is only going to make you weaker. I don't give you sympathy, I can only give you strength. So put in your efforts, don't cry. Okay, so EAN rule will not always give you the most stable compound. So for example, in this case, EAN is given you 36 as more stable. So according to Sidgwick's EAN rule, FeCN6 minus will be more stable than FeCN6 4 minus should be more stable than FeCN6 minus. Good job, RS. Very good job. Anything which you feel you are confident will be RS. Okay. So, but actually, if you see, this FeCN6 minus is more stable. So it is not that Sidgwick will always give you the best answer. It is according to his theory. Okay. It is not a foolproof theory, but are we clear about this? Shall we proceed? Perfect. Now this is super important. Now please listen to me carefully. Please listen to me carefully. Let's say there is a central metal atom. Okay. So if I say there is a central metal atom and these are the d orbitals of the central metal atom. Okay. You just got 52 in what? In chemistry or overall? SN. See, whatever your scores are in the exam, right now, instead of crying about it, work on how you can improve that score. Okay. Okay, RS, let's concentrate. Okay. Because knowing percentile of someone else is not going to help you. So SN, what you can do is you can improve on the topics which you thought were easy and you were not able to score, but you know them. Work on those first, okay, for the next attempt. So degenerate means all the d orbitals of the same energy. So this is the energy level. So if you see, all these 5 are of the same energy level, yes or no. Now if it is an octahedral complex, you will have 6 ligands. Now each ligand will have its own field. Can you tell me from where will the ligands approach? The ligands will approach from x-axis, minus x-axis, y-axis, minus y, z-axis, minus z. Because it is octahedral, so it will be approaching like this only, yes or no? So if the ligands are the ones which are shown in pink, these are the ligands which are approaching along the axis, can you tell me which of the d orbitals will be repelled more? The ones which are along the axis or the ones which are at an angle to the axis? Which will be repelled more? Which d orbitals will be repelled more? The ones which are along the axis or the ones which are at an angle? Which are at an angle? No, it is directly. See, let's say this is one car which is coming. I am saying, where will you have a head-on collision? No, why angled? If you have a d orbital which is along the axis, it will have greater repulsion. Why angled AI? AS, what are your names? You have not read your NCRT properly. Okay, this is given in NCRT. So the ones along the axis are dx square minus y square and dz square. They will be repelled more. So initially, if their energy was somewhere here, their energy increase. Yes or no? Dx square minus y square and dz square. Can you see this? Can you see that dx square minus y square and dz square, their energy increases? And the ones which are at an angle of 45 degree, which is dxy, dyz, dzx, are relatively now more stable, so their energy relatively decreases. So if I say initially all of them were at the same energy level, now 3 of them are here and 2 of them are here. So can I say that there is a difference in their energy? Can I say now they are not at the same energy level? What is this difference in their energy? That is known as delta naught, which is crystal field splitting due to octahedral complex. Yes or no? Delta naught. Naught means octahedral. Yeah, delta O. Crystal field splitting due to octahedral complex. Now what is this? What is this energy? This has to be greater than this, so it is plus sign. This has to be less than this, so it is minus sign. A simple way to remember it is, if it is 2, it will be plus 3 by 5. It is 3, it is minus 2 by 5. So basically inverse proportion. So if it is 2 and this is 3, so this will be 3 by 5, this will be 2 by 5. So now if I ask you, what are the name of the energy orbitals which are at a greater energy, you will call them as EG, and the lower ones are known as T2G. So if I ask you what is T2G, the T2G are at the angle dxy, dyz, dx, and if I say what is EG will be at dx square minus y square dz square. Inverse proportionality, not proportionality PG. Okay. My question to you is, if I ask you, see, before this we had no formula to find what is the relative stability of a compound, but now we have something which is known as CFSE. What do you mean by CFSE? What do you mean by CFSE? Crystal field stabilization energy. Okay, CFSE. So if I ask you what is crystal field stabilization energy, it is N1 into T2G. So minus 2 by 5 delta naught into N1 plus N2 into plus 3 by 5 delta naught. What is N1? N1 is number of electrons in T2G. What is N2? N2 is number of electrons in EG. So the more negative this number is, the more stable the compound is. So I can say more negative CFSE implies more stable compound. Sometimes if you have to find delta naught, you will be given lambda. So Hc by lambda is delta naught. Now what is this lambda? What is not clear to you, PG? Tell me. PG, what is not clear to you? Tell me. So what is, okay, tell me one thing. If energy is released, compound is more stable, or if energy is absorbed, compound is more stable. Which compound is more stable? Tell me. PG, tell me, which compound is more stable? If energy is released or if energy is absorbed? Released. PG, you agree with me? Released. What is the sign of the energy if it is released? Positive or negative? What is the sign if the energy is released? Positive or negative? Negative, that is the reason. So if the CFSE is negative, the energy is released. If it is positive, the energy is required. So which will be more stable? The more negative, the more energy is released. The more energy is released, the more stable the compound. Are we clear about this now, PG? Is this clear to you now? Any doubts, anyone? Now different ligands. So basically what is happening? This is basically the splitting due to ligands. Now the ligands basically absorb energy. We have studied this in atomic structure, that if lambda is absorbed, then the difference is hc by lambda between energies. Yes or no? So now I have a question for you. This field or this delta, okay, I will tell you how we will find. AG, wait. I will explain it to you. If I ask you that if you have a ligand, how will you know which is the ligand which is going to create this delta or the splitting as the highest and the most? So basically, if the splitting is more, delta is more. If the splitting is less, the delta is less. Yes or no? If the splitting is more, how do we know? We actually did an experiment. We used all the ligands and we came out with this spectrochemical series. This is the spectrochemical series. So I will say the weakest is I minus, then Br minus, then S2 minus, then Cl minus, then NO3 minus, then F minus, then OH minus, oxalate ion, H2O, EDTA. Then these are the strong ones: ammonia, pyridine, approximately same, then ethylene diamine, dipyridine, NO2 minus, cyanide, CO. So what you have to do is remember the strong field ligands only. So these are the strong field ligands, means for them lambda is less. If lambda is less, delta is more. So if I say if you have nitrogen or carbon as the donor, you will always have strong field ligands. And if you have halogens or oxygen as the donor, you will always have weak field ligands. Should I remember the complete things? No. Remember the strong ones only. Rest all are weak. Okay. So if I say there are how many strong? Only 5 or 6 which are strong. 6 or 7 maybe. Ammonia, ethylene diamine, NO2 minus, cyanide, carbon monoxide. These are the most common ones which are used. Now tell me, if these are a strong field ligand, lambda is less. So can I say delta, which is Hc by lambda, delta will be more? Yes or no? That is, the distance between T2G and Eg in terms of energy will increase. Yes or no? So for a strong field ligand, this difference is more. For a weak field ligand, this difference is less. Is this clear to all of you? Remember this now. Strong field ligand, the difference is more. Weak field ligand, the difference is less. Are we clear? Now let's understand how to fill electrons. Okay. Tell me, so basically these are the d orbitals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 d orbitals. So you can only have 10 electrons. Okay. Now this is the order of energy. This is the order of energy. So if I ask you a question, if you have D1, where will the electron enter first? T2G or Eg? Tell me your answer. If you have the configuration as D1, where will the electron enter? T2G or Eg? T2G, right? Is there any other way? No. If I say you have D2, what will happen if it is D2? First electron, second electron. No other way. T2G twice. If I say you have D3, then you have first electron, second electron, third electron. Is there any other way? If you have T2G3, no. In all these three cases, can I say, can I say that this Eg orbitals will be free? So for D1 or D2 for D3, can I say that these orbitals will be free? Yes or no? So if these orbitals are free, out of 5 you have 2 inner d which are free, If you have inner D which are free, you will always have D2sp3 because the ligands will occupy these. So basically, if you have D1, D2, D3 and coordination number 6, you will always have D2sp3 irrespective of what the ligand is. Is it clear to everyone? Yes or no? Is it clear to everyone? Yes or no? Is it clear, guys? Perfect. Perfect. If I say you have D8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 when the pairing is late, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Both the cases you have the same compound. So D8, D9, D10, D8, D9, D10, you will always have only one possible case. Okay, you try and write it down. So for example, if I write D8, the only possible case for D8 is this. There is no other way. D8 will be always like this. If I ask you D9, there is only one case like this, whatever you do. And if I ask you D10, there is only one case possible, everything is fully filled. Okay. Now tell me one thing. If everything is fully filled in all these three cases, will you ever have these inner d orbitals which are free? No. So you always have to use the d orbitals which are outside, or you have to use the outer d. If you will use the outer d, it will be sp3d2 always. So for d8, d9, dt, d10, I can say it is no locha case. No locha means you don't have to look at what the ligand is. You always know the answer as, if it is d1, d2, d3, it will be d2sp3. If it is d8, d9, d10, it will be sp3d2. So this is high spin complex, yes. This is high spin complex, this is low spin complex. Now if I take d4, d4 is a danger zone. Why? So for d4, I will say first electron is here, second is here, third is here. First is here, second is here, third is here. For the fourth electron, you have two choice. First, to jump the electron. Second, to pair the electron. So if the electron can jump easily, I can say that the distance should be smaller. Yes or no? If the electron can jump easily from here to here, can I say this has to be smaller? Now this will be smaller for whom? For weak field ligand or for strong field ligand? Tell me. This will be smaller for whom? For weak field ligand or for strong field ligand? For weak. So for weak field ligand, jumping will happen, not pairing. And for a strong field ligand, this distance is more, so pairing is much more comfortable. P means pairing energy. So now pairing is much more easier for a strong field ligand, so it will pair. Yes or no? So this is the case here. So in this case, I will not have the inner D available to me, so the hybridization is sp3d2. In this case, I will have the inner D available to me, so hybridization will be d2sp3. Yes or no? Is it not simple? So if you have d4, d5, d6, d7, you have to look at the ligand. If it is weak, then sp3d2. If it is strong, then d2sp3 for coordination number 6. Now let's calculate CFSE for d4 here. AS, what should I repeat? AS, what should I repeat? AS, what should I repeat? Filling. So I have D4, I have 4 electrons, 1, 2, 3. The fourth electron can either jump or it can pair. Okay. If jumping is easy, if the distance between these T2G and EG is small, the distance will be small if it is weak field ligand. So if it is weak field ligand, it will jump. For strong field ligand, this distance will be higher because delta will be greater. So it will prefer pairing. Is it clear to you now? Now if the jump happens, you will not have the 2 inner D free because you need 2 inner D for D2. So in this case, you will always have sp3d2. In this case, you have these two inner D free. So can I say this is d2 sp3? Yes or no? So I am saying if you have coordination number 6 and you have d4, d5, d6 and d7, if it is a weak field ligand, you will always have sp3d2. And if it is a strong field ligand, you will have d2 sp3. Are we clear? Perfect. Thank you, RS. Thank you. D7. Okay, so let's do D7. D7, if it is weak field ligand 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do D7 now. I'm doing D7 here, okay? So if weak field ligand 1, 2, 3, now what will happen? The fourth electron will jump, fifth, now sixth and seventh again. So this is for weak field ligand. Are we clear? But if you have D7 for strong field ligand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pairing will happen. Now the seventh electron basically jumps. Can you see the seventh electron basically jumping? Why? Because I need these to be free. So D7 with strong field ligand, for example, cobalt 2 plus, which is strong field ligand plus D7, the seventh electron will jump, so that you have vacant internal D or inner D orbitals. So this is one exception which I have taught. Are we clear? AS, are we clear? So now if I ask you a question, can you tell me what will be CFSE in this case? Only for cobalt 2 plus, only that is D7, right? You have to find the D7 also. So D7 with strong field ligands. If it is cobalt 2 plus, it is D7, yes or no? And this is a strong field ligand for cobalt, yes or no? So basically strong field ligand, D7, strong field ligand. I have 7 electrons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pairing happens. Now this one electron jumps from here to here. Why? Because only then I will have these vacant 2 inner D orbitals. Because I need 2 inner D orbitals, I have to jump this electron. That is the only thing I am talking about. So ideally there is no exception. This is D2 sp3 only, but one electron is basically jumped. This jumping will not happen in other cases. Okay, KP. So if I have to calculate CFSE in the first case, can I say CFSE, for example, in this case? Critical complex. What is critical complex are you talking about? Give me any example. You only have to remember the strong field ligands. Rest all are weak. There are only 6 or 7 strong field ligand SP. Now listen to me carefully. CFSE for this will be what? You have 3 electrons in T2G. So 3 into minus 2 by 5 delta naught plus 1 into 3 by 5 delta naught. Yes or no? So can you calculate CFSE in these cases now? Yes or no? Is it clear to everyone, this concept? Perfect. Perfect. If I give you a tetrahedral complex, I will have 4 ligands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now why are they not along the axis? Because they are actually a tetrahedral. So if one is this, all these should be basically acting like the vertices of a tetrahedron. If you join these, you should be able to get a tetrahedron. Yes or no? So now ligands are approaching along the tetrahedron. Now what is tetrahedron? Tetrahedron is at an angle of 109 degree 28 minutes. So it will be closer to the ligands which are 45 degree. Yes or no? So it will be closer to the ligands which are at an angle of 45 degree. Which are the ligands which are the d orbitals which are an angle of 45 degree? Which are the d orbitals which are at an angle of 45 degree? dxy, dyz, dzx. So in this case, can I say they will be repelled more? Yes, you should. A. And also try to improve from 98.71 to 99.5 plus. Okay, A. Good job. So now T2G will be repelled more. So dxy, dyz, dzx, they will be repelled more. And this will be dx square minus y square, and this will be dz square. Are we clear? So is it not just the opposite case? Here the T2G will be repelled less and EG will be repelled more. Here it is just the opposite. Yes or no? T2G are repelled more. So if it is repelled more, T2G will have a positive sign, EG basically will have a negative sign. Again, plus 0.4. The difference between their energy is known as delta T. T means tetrahedral. So crystal field splitting in tetrahedral complex. If I ask you what is CFSE in this case, it is N1 into minus 0.6 T into delta plus N2 into plus 0.4 delta T, where N1 is the number of electrons in EG orbitals and N2 is the number of electrons in delta T orbitals. Yes or no? Is it clear to everyone so far? So if it is coordination number 4, this delta T will be actually very small compared to delta naught, or I will say the splitting is small. Can you tell me why is this splitting small? First of all, instead of 6 ligands there, you only have 4 ligands there. So 4 by 6 is a factor due to number of ligands. That is 2 by 3. And 2 by 3 factor is due to approach. They are not approaching all the ligands directly. In the octahedral complex, they were approaching some ligands directly. There is no case in which it approaches a ligand directly, so you will have a 2 by 3 factor here. So effectively delta T is 4 by 9 delta naught, which is observed. So delta T is less than delta naught. Are we clear about this? Yes or no? Perfect. Now for coordination number 4, if a tetrahedral complex is given to you, there are some different rules which you have to follow to find the hybridization. First of all, if Z is very large and you have given coordination number 4, hybridization is always dsp2, which is square planar. So if you have inner D in coordination number 4, you will have dsp2. If you have outer D or outer P, you will have coordination number 4, you will have sp3 or tetrahedral. So for example, platinum Cl4. So Cl is a weak field ligand, doesn't matter. In this case, chlorine is a weak field ligand, doesn't matter. If I look at platinum, if I look at palladium, I said Z is very high. I can simply say Z is very high, coordination number 4, answer is dsp2. Answer is dsp2. Are we clear about this? Only for coordination number 4, but not coordination number 6. Coordination number 6 is basically what we have discussed so far. Coordination number 4, if Z is equal to very, very large, then I can say that the hybridization will always be dsp2. Is this clear to everyone? In the other cases, if it is weak field ligand, no pairing. If it is strong field ligand, pairing. If no pairing, then sp3. If pairing happens, then dsp2. So let me give you an example. NiCl4 2 minus. Can I say chlorine is a weak field ligand? So I will write nickel is plus 2, so argon 3d8. Now if I say that this is a weak field ligand, there will be no pairing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? So can I say this is sp3 hybridized? If I ask you what is the number of unpaired electrons, I will say 1 and 2. So n is equal to 2. So mu is under root of n into n plus 2. CO is the strongest ligand, right? Yes. So this will be root 8 Bohr magneton. If I ask you NiCN4 2 minus, I will say this is the strong field ligand. Nickel 2 plus is argon 3d8. If it is strong field ligand, what I will do? I will do pairing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. D is free, 1 ligand, 2 ligand electrons, 3 and 4, so dsp2. So number of unpaired electrons is 0, so mu is 0. Is it simple? Clear to everyone? I did discuss SC. I think you have joined late. When did you join SC? When did you join? When did you join the class? But see, there can be some exceptions. For example, if I take carbon monoxide is a strong field ligand, nickel is 0. That was the first topic we covered SC. Basically, you joined half an hour back. 15 minutes back is half an hour late, right? You cannot be late in the class. Now listen to me carefully. If nickel is 0, I have 3d8 4s2. If it is 0, I can do pairing. So I have 10 electrons to accommodate. If I have 10 electrons to accommodate, everything will get paired. So though it is a strong field ligand, I still have sp3 hybridization. Yes or no? Number of unpaired electrons 0, mu is equal to 0. It's not a problem. So at times you have to draw this, okay, and understand what is the configuration and how many electrons. So in this case pairing is happening, but still it is basically 10 electrons, right? You cannot excite 2 electrons. You can only excite 1 electron. Jumping will happen only in 1. You cannot excite 2 electrons to make this empty. It will not happen. So even though in this case you have a strong field ligand, you still have the hybridization as sp3. Which one? AS? Which one? This one. So I have 8 electrons. It's a strong field ligand. So pair it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pair. And I need to have 1D which is free. So 1D is free. So I have D sp2. What is the problem? See, I think these are very, very straightforward things which are done in your school, which are done in your coaching classes. This is a revision class. If you want to study it in detail, come to the micro courses. Okay, yes. Which one? Like this? Only one. You can always, there will not be much exceptions. You can simply solve it like this. Okay, you will see the questions, right? At the end of class. You will see the questions, don't worry. Now, square planar complexes. So basically you have 4 ligands which are basically approaching in a square and plane. So basically the ones, let's say this is xy plane. So the orbitals which are in the xy plane will be impacted more. So basically square planar is nothing but octahedral minus these 2 planes. So if it is octahedral, you will also have these. If I remove these 2, basically what will happen? So this is octahedral, EG and T2G. And now this is further distorted. Right? So if it is further distorted, what will happen? The ones along the xy plane, which is dx square minus y square dxy, will be impacted more. So this basically is effectively the crystal field splitting due to square planar complexes. We will do isomerism, don't wait. Okay, don't worry, we'll cover isomerism, don't worry. Okay. So can I say one thing, that if this is delta naught, can I say delta sp is greater than delta naught? Yes or no? So delta sp is greater than delta naught, which is greater than delta t. In fact, it is observed that delta sp comes out to be 1.3 times delta naught. So for example, if I give you this question, comment on the deltas, delta 1, delta 2, delta 3. In this case it is dsp2, this case it is sp3, this case it is coordination number 6. So this is nothing but delta sp. So this will be highest, then delta octahedral, which will be this, then delta tetrahedral, which will be delta 2. Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear to everyone? 1 greater than 3 greater than 2. KP. Shall we proceed? They might ask you to write the hybridization or find the coordination number. So basically this is something which I have written in steps format. So for example, you write the coordination number, then you write the hybridization, then you write whether the ligand is weak field or strong field, then you basically write the number of unpaired electrons, and then you write the mu value. This is already something which I have done here. This is something I have done here. So you don't, I have written the steps, you can revise it, but it is not required. You can simply follow this. Okay. Now they can ask you something like color of coordination compounds. So the trick is very simple. First of all, the color of the compound can be due to d-d transition. So basically, if you have electrons which are having configuration from d1 to d9, the d electrons can jump and you will have light colors. So basically colors will be relatively light. So if it is blue, it will be light blue. But if you have charge transfer will happen when you have d0 or d10 configuration. Now d0 have no d electrons, d10 has everything which is paired. So for example, manganese plus 7 is d0, chromium plus 6 is d0, CrO4 2 minus is plus 6. If I take AgI, this is also plus 1. So AgI plus 1 is d10. So in all these cases, I can say one thing for sure, that you don't have d1 to d9 configuration. If you don't have d1 to d9 configuration, for example, I take MnO4 minus, the color is dark purple. So what is happening? This oxygen is negative. This basically gives this charge is transformed from oxygen to manganese like this. So sometimes one oxygen is going to give, sometimes other oxygen is going to give. This is going to happen. So the intensity in this case will be much higher of color because this is much more frequent. So if I say intensity is higher, means the color will be darker. So for example, if I say AgI is yellow, it will be dark yellow. If I say MnO4 minus, basically it will be dark purple. Cr2O72 minus will be orange. This will be yellow, again very strong yellow. This will be light, this will be yellow. This will be strong. Are we clear? This is one part of the series. The second part of the series is, if I ask you VIBGYOR, remove the I of the VIBGYOR. Okay, so I am just giving you a trick. What is the trick? Remove I from VIBGYOR. So you will be left with VBGYOR. Write VBGYOR. Now whatever color is absorbed, okay, the color which is opposite to that will be reflected. So for example, if violet is absorbed, I will see yellow color. If yellow is absorbed, I will see violet color. Yes or no? So the observed color and the absorbed color will be complementary to each other. So I will just give you an example. Now listen to me carefully. Okay, listen to me carefully. I have been given that the observed color is blue in first case and red in second case. This is given to me. Okay, so if the observed color is blue, let's say blue, this is your color. What will be the absorbed color? Orange? Yes or no? Similarly, if the observed color is red, what will be the absorbed color? Green? Yes or no? Is it clear? Now tell me one answer. I have two ligands. It is given to me that the stronger ligand is L2 and L1 is the weaker ligand. So if this is orange which is absorbed and the green which is absorbed, which ligand will absorb which color? Which ligand will absorb which color? If L2 is the stronger ligand and L1 is the weaker ligand. So if L2 is the stronger ligand, it will absorb which color? Orange or green? Stronger the ligand, lower will be the wavelength. So can I say this will absorb green and this will absorb L1? Yes or no? So can I say the one which is L2 is actually going to be red in color and the one which is L1 is actually going to be blue in color? Yes or no? Is it clear to everyone now? Simple enough? Simple enough, guys? Perfect. Now these are some stability parameters. Now stability parameters, as the size of the central metal atom decreases, stability increases. All these are like pretty straightforward. I am not very bullish that this will be asked because there are a lot of things which are contradictory or which are incomplete in these, but still you can go through them once. Okay, this is something for you to just go through it. This is all in the NCERT. Stronger the ligand, lower will be the wavelength. AY. Is it not simple? Higher is the energy difference. Strong ligand means delta is higher, so lambda will be smaller. Okay, now tell me a chemical equilibrium question. Tell me a chemical equilibrium question. Let's say there is a coordination compound MLY which is formed. These are the ligand, this is the metal. Can you tell me what is the equilibrium constant in this case? What is the equilibrium constant? That is known as K stability. Can you tell me that will be what? That will be concentration of this upon concentration of this upon concentration of this to the power of y. Yes or no? Yes or no? So now can you tell me, higher is the value of K stability, more the reaction goes in the forward direction and more stable it is. That is what I have written. As K stability increases, stability of the compound increases because the reaction is going in the forward direction. Yes or no? Similarly, if there are multiple steps and I ask you the K for the last step, that will be K1 into K2 if you add these two. So this is pretty straightforward. This is exactly what we have done in chemical equilibrium. And if I ask you what is the overall stability, that is beta, which is K1 into K2. If beta increases, stability increases by the same concept. Beta is nothing but K only, right? The K of all the equations. Shall we proceed, guys? Now IUPAC nomenclature, I have written all the rules. I think you can easily revise it, simple enough. Okay. I have written because it is important. I don't think you have a lot of problems in this. See, what will you face problem in this is this, not this one. This is pretty straightforward. Isomerism is where you will face the most problems. Okay. So what I'll do is I will start with isomerism now. Okay. IUPAC, I have written the rules for you to basically refer to so that you don't have to go here and there, but pretty straightforward. Unlike organic, IUPAC in this is super easy. Okay, what is ionization isomers? Basically, if you have compound in which between the coordination sphere. So basically, this is your coordination sphere. Which one? This box is your coordination sphere. If the ions can be exchanged between the coordination sphere and the ionization sphere, you will have ionization isomers. So these are ionization isomers. Simple enough. I'm going a bit fast in this area because this is very easily understood. If I can change water molecule between the coordination sphere and the ionization sphere, basically you will have hydrate isomers. So for example, water molecule is exchanged with chlorine, water molecule is exchanged with chlorine, and I will get this compound. Again, simple enough. So if the ions can exchange between coordination sphere and ionization sphere, ionization isomers. If the water molecule can get exchanged, it is hydrate isomers. Clear? Yes or no? If you have a ambidentate ligand, for example SCN minus and NCS minus, you have linkage isomers, right? For example SCN minus, NCS minus, NO2 minus, ONO minus, cyanide NC minus, both of them. So whenever you have any kind of ambidentate ligand, you will have linkage isomers. Pretty straightforward. Coordination isomers are going to happen when you have both the cation as well as anion as coordination compounds. So basically +3 -3, both of them are coordination compounds. So now in these cases you can exchange the ligands between the spheres, that is the positive and the negative ion. Make sure that when you exchange, for example, if you exchange 3, you will have 0 0. This will not be the coordination isomer. Why? Because this and this are not cation or anion now. They are neutral compounds. So make sure that both the cation and anion are complex compounds. Are we clear? And the oxidation number and the coordination number of both the central metal atom will be same in all the cases. This is very obvious. I mean, you don't need to put your effort in this. Coordination position isomers. This is very tricky. I don't think they will ask you this question. Charge should not be same. Oxidation number should be same. Okay, AG. So for example, if I take this as one central metal atom, this is another central metal atom. How many ligands do I have? I have 6 ammonia and I have 2 chlorines. One way is to distribute them unsymmetrically and one way is to distribute them symmetrically. So these are coordination position isomers, which means that the position of these isomers, the position of these ligands are different. Numbers are same. Okay. So this again is very tricky. I don't think this is very important. You can skip this also if you want. Okay. Ligand isomers, for example, if I take PN and TN, this is PN and this is TN. So between these two compounds, this PN and TN are isomers of each other. So basically the ligands which you take, if the ligands are isomers of each other, then you have ligand isomerism. Okay. So basically PN and TN are isomers of each other. So I can say that these basically compounds will be ligand isomers. Okay. Now starting with stereoisomerism. Okay. Now this is super important. Okay. Coordination number 4. So if I take coordination number 4 and I take square planar complexes first. Okay. If I take square planar complexes and I talk about optical isomerism. Okay. Will there be any optical isomers in square planar? So basically this is square planar. It is not hardest. It is very simple. Listen to me carefully now. If I have one square plane, can I say that there is always going to be a plane of symmetry? Yes or no? If this is the plane, can I always cut it like this such that it will have a plane of symmetry? Yes, it is English class SJ. So it will always have a plane of symmetry. So 99.99% cases you will have optically inactive. Except MAB2. MAB2 why? Because it is like a chain which is going to come out of the plane. That is the reason. If I ask you what is cis, cis means minimum cancellation. If I ask you trans, trans means maximum cancellation. If cis or trans isomerism happens, that is known as geometrical isomers. And if optical isomers basically are present, if I combine both of them, they will be stereoisomers. Now listen to me carefully. If I have tetrahedral compounds like MABCD, then basically it will be optically active just like we did in organic. It is chiral. A, B, C, D are different. Only this is optically active. Now, if I use small a, small b, small c, they are monodentate ligand. For example, chloride, bromide, fluoride, H2O. If I take capital AA, it is symmetrical bidentate ligand. For example, NCCN, it is symmetrical bidentate ligand. And whenever I write AB, it is unsymmetrical bidentate ligand. For example, NCCO-. So this is the terminology which you are going to use. Okay. Now I am going to cover all the things which are going to be there. Okay. So listen to me carefully now. Coordination number 4. For tetrahedral, there is no cis-trans isomers, so no geometrical isomers. But if I take coordination number 4, square planar, let's say I take MA4. So this is MA4, only one possibility. Is there any other possibility you can think of? No, there is no other possibility. If I take MA3B, only one possibility, I have written it. If I take MA2B2, if A opposite to A, it is maximum cancellation. If it is maximum cancellation, it is trans. If A and A, B and B are together, that is minimum cancellation, we have cis. So you have two compounds. बिल्कुल कर सकते हैं. Why not, DJ? If I say MA to B2, if I say MA to BC, I will have A opposite to A, which is trans, and A with A, which is minimum cancellation, which is cis, two compounds. If I take MABCD, I will have three isomers: A opposite to B, A opposite to C, A opposite to D, A opposite to D, A opposite to B, A opposite to C. So I will have three isomers. Any doubt? So for example, if I give you a question, platinum ClFbRi. So I know platinum, this is a square planar compound. Can I write this as M? Can I write this as MABCD? Yes or no? As soon as I write it as MABCD, I will say optically active 0, stereoisomers 3. So total stereoisomers is 3. Yes or no? I will say geometrical isomers. Shall we move on to the next part? If I say coordination number 6, okay, if I say coordination number 6, let's say MA6, only one possibility. If I say MA5B, only one possibility. If I say MA4B2, how will you draw MA4B2? What is cis? Cis is minimum cancellation, so all A put together, all B put together. This is minimum cancellation. What is trans? Trans is maximum cancellation. So if I say trans, A opposite to A opposite to A, B opposite to B. This is trans. Now, geometrical isomers. Is it optically active or not? Simple way. Whenever you have an axis which is symmetrical, for example, AA is known as the axis. It is symmetrical, so this will be optically inactive. And whenever cis is optically inactive, trans will always be optically inactive. So if cis is optically inactive, trans will be optically inactive. Why? Cis is the less symmetric of these two. So if you have a plane of symmetry in the less symmetric one, the more symmetric one definitely will have a plane of symmetry. Are we clear? Suppose I give you MA4B. Suppose I give you this compound. So first of all, what is cis? All A together, all BC together, so that minimum cancellation happens. What is trans? A opposite to A opposite to A, B opposite to C. That is maximum cancellation. Now I have a AA axis, so this is optically inactive. If cis is optically inactive, trans has to be optically inactive. So for example, if I give you a question like CO NH34 ClBr and I ask you what is the total number of stereoisomers, answer is 2 because it is MA4BC type. Are we clear? Shall we proceed? Let's say I have MA3B3. What is cis? All A together. What is trans? All B together. Trans is all maximum cancellation. So if I draw the cis, this is minimum cancellation. Trans, A opposite to A, B opposite to B, A opposite to B is trans. If I join these three A which are simultaneously together, okay, can I get the face of the octahedral? Can you see this face of the octahedral? That is why it is known as FAC isomer. And if I join both the A's or both the B's, I will get the body diagonal of the octahedron or the meridian of the octahedron. That is the reason it is known as MER isomer. My question to you is it optically active or is it optically inactive? So for example, I am showing this A in red and this B in red. Can you see this? This is A in red, this is B in red. A in red, B in red, A in red, B in red. Yes or no? I have AB, I have AB. I cut this marker into half. So I have half A here, I have half A here, I have half B here, I have half B here, I have AB here, I have AB here. So can I say if I cut this marker into half, I am cutting this marker into half. I will have a plane of symmetry, so it will be optically inactive. Is it clear to everyone? If this is optically inactive, see this already has this axis, it has to be optically inactive. Or if cis is optically inactive, trans will be optically inactive. If I take MA3B2C, I can draw all these. So what I have done is now you can do a simple exercise. PG, which one? Which one? Take this red one is A, this red is B. Cut this marker into half. So if you cut this marker into half, what will happen? This A will be half, this A will be half, this B will be half. You will have one AB on one side and you will have one AB on the other side. It will be perfectly symmetrical. Yes or no? Now similarly, what I have done is I have drawn the structures for all the cases. MA3B2C, MA3BCD, MA2B2C2, MA2BCDE, everything. MABCDE. Okay, can you tell me what will be the number of isomers for MABCDEF? It's a mathematics question. So how do we do this? See, I say that let's take an octahedron like this. Okay. If I take this position, let's say as A, can I say this position can be B, C, D, E or F? Can I say this position can be occupied in 5 ways? Yes or no? Let's take B. So you are left with CDEF. Now CDEF is a square planar. So how many isomers for CDEF? MABCD types? 3 isomers. 5 cross 3. And everything is optically active because there is no plane of symmetry. Yes or no? So this is pretty straightforward. Yes or no? See, this all require practice. So you have to draw all these ones with your hand. Otherwise, you will have to remember. Don't do that. That's the reason I have drawn everything. You can go home, you can practice. If I say MAA3, so now AA is not a single atom. It is like CCCN. It is like NCCN, right? It's a chain. So if I take this, let's consider this as a fan. So this is 1 fan, 2 fan, 3 fan. And if I take the mirror image, I cannot superimpose this on this. So basically MAA thrice, if I take, basically this is non-superimposable. What happened? I don't know chapter idea. Can we get directly through without knowing basic? If you don't know chapter, no, you cannot. Then you have to attend the micro courses first. This is a revision class. Obviously, you cannot know if you are just attending a revision class. So for example, if I give you CREN thrice and I ask you what is total number of stereoisomers, I will say it is MAA 3 types, so stereoisomers is 2. If I take MAA2A2, so I will say this is cis is minimum cancellation, so this is cis is optically active. If I take trans, this is trans is maximum cancellation. Okay, so you have 2 isomers from here. If I take trans, I will have the same image. The mirror image is same. So I will only have 1 isomer. This will be another isomer. This will be another isomer. I will only have 3 isomers, out of which 2 are optically active and 1 is optically inactive. Okay. So now I have done the other parts also. You can try them at home. These are some applications which are given in NCERT. Purification of nickel is Mond's process. Wilkinson's catalyst is rhodium triphenyl phosphine chloride. What is Ziegler-Natta catalyst? What is EDTA? Okay. So refer to these. Take your paper and pen out. I will ask you questions now. Take your paper and pen out. All ready? Guys, all set? All set? Shall we start? Hybridization, sp3, TiCl4, right? Okay. SR, the crash course means that we will be covering the important topics. If you have not studied this topic at all, what is the point? In that case, you attend the micro course. We also have Amazon micro course. See, don't waste time by asking irrelevant questions. See, there are a lot of students who are sitting here. You ask them if it is helpful to them. Don't waste time for other people, right? There is an exam in 5 days from now. Please respect that. Okay, your time starts now for the first question. Tell me your answer and write your name after the answer. Yes, tell me your answer. Tell me your answer. B. Okay. Why B? Vishnu is saying B. Anyone else? Tell me your answers, guys, quickly. Anurag is saying B. Winglet is saying B. Harshil is saying B. B is the right answer. Why B is the right answer? We just did the complementary complexes. So the wavelength which is the smallest, the smallest wavelength, lambda small, implies strongest field ligand. So if I ask you what is the strength of ligand, what is the strength of ligand? Fluoride is the weakest, then you have NCS minus, then you have ammonia. So can I say that A corresponds to this, B corresponds to this, and C corresponds to this? Yes or no? So A corresponds to 3, NCS minus is 1, and C fluoride is 2. So answer is B. Good job, guys. Good job. Good job. Let's move on to the next question. For octahedral Mn2 plus and tetrahedral nickel 2 plus complex, consider the following statements. Both the complexes can be high spin. Nickel 2 complex can be very rarely low spin. With strong field ligands, Mn2 plus complexes can be low spin. Aqueous solution of Mn2 plus is yellow in color. Okay, tell me the answer to this question. The correct statements are: yes, tell me the answer to this question, guys. B. Vishnu is saying C. Winglet is saying C. Gagan C, Aditya C, Surya saying B, Ishwar saying C, Anurag saying C, Aman saying B. DK, there is single correct, right? There cannot be A or B. Purvansh B, C, C is the right answer. Manganese 2 plus, basically Mn2 plus, is light pink in color, right? So if it is Mn2 plus, it is light pinkish or colorless. Slightly, I will say it is, very, very faint color. But definitely not yellow. So I can say this will be incorrect. Both the complexes can be high spin, yes. Both the complexes. Why? Because octahedral complex is this. So if I say Mn2 plus, it is argon 3d5. So it is Locha case. If it is Locha case, I can see octahedral. Yes, I can see high spin. Tetrahedral for nickel, I have seen it. Nickel tetrahedral complexes NiCN4, NiCl4, I have seen both. So it can be high spin, yes. It can be low spin, yes. With strong field it can be low spin, yes. So basically this is just, if you will just revise the class which I have done today, you will just see all these examples also. Okay, moving on. Tell me the answer to this question. The d electron configuration in this case will be, how is third correct? Why? Take MnCN. Check this one. Check this one. Okay, AM, you will get the answer. Okay. Tell me the answer to this question. SR is saying that the answer is C. Other people, tell me your answer. Vishnu is saying the answer is C. What? Yes. No, if you are telling the answer, which one? How C? Wait, I will tell. Just a second. So C is 1, 2 and 3 correct, right? So 1, 2 and 3 are correct, right? SR. So that is what C option is. Okay. So in this question, if I take this case, this is the strong field ligand. This is weak field ligand. So if there are 6 electrons to be filled, okay, if there are 6 electrons to be filled, because it is given to me that there are 6 electrons, it is the Locha case. So for a strong field ligand, what will happen? 1, 2, 3, then pairing will happen 4, 5, 6. And for a weak field ligand, what will happen? 1, 2, 3. Then I will have 4 and 5, and then I will have 6. So in this case, the configuration will be T2G6 Eg0, and in this case, the configuration is T2G4 Eg2. Simple, straightforward. Okay, next to the next question. The complex which can show optical activity is, okay, tell me the answer to this question. Yes, guys, tell me the answer to this question. B. C. Vishnu is saying C. Surya is saying B. Aman is saying C. Okay. What about other people? Winglet is saying C. So I'm just writing these compounds for you. This is Ma2B4. This is trans, cis. This is Ma2, AA2, and this is Ma2, AA2. This is cis, this is trans. This is your answer. So now let's see. If I draw Ma2, what do you mean by trans? Trans means maximum cancellation. So A opposite to A, B opposite to B, B opposite to B. So I have an axis which is symmetrical, so this is optically inactive. This cannot be your answer. If I draw this, minimum cancellation, A close to A, B close to B. Again I have one axis. If I have one axis which is like this, I can say it is symmetrical, it is optically inactive. So this cannot be your answer. If I draw this M, AA, AA, and let's say I draw small a, I will say that this is going to form non-superimposable mirror image. So this is optically active. And if I draw this, it will be something like this. AA, trans means maximum cancellation, so A opposite to A. I will have the same mirror image. So I will say this is optically inactive. This cannot be the answer. Simple enough. So now you understand what is the idea of writing this, because you have done all these things. It will be pretty straightforward to you. Not very difficult. Lot of you have run this correctly. Very good. Good job, guys. Okay, can you do this question for me? Crystal field stabilization energy of CO compound is given to you. Yes, tell me the answer to this question. B. Okay. C. Okay. Will pairing energy come in crystal field stabilization energy? No, this will not come. These cannot be the answers. The answer has to be A or D. And you have written answer as B and C. So I will say this is weak field ligand. And what is the configuration of cobalt? Cobalt is argon 3d7 4s2. So this is cobalt 3 plus. So what will be cobalt 3 plus? Argon 3d6. So I have T2G and I have Eg. Now I will say this weak field ligand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I say what will be this value will be 4 into minus of 2 by 5 delta naught plus 2 into plus 3 by 5 delta naught. So this will be minus 8 plus 6 minus 2 by 5 delta naught. Is this clear to everyone? Shall we proceed? Next question. Okay. You have 10 seconds for this, okay? Because CFSE is there, right? Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So first of all, this compound is of the form MAANO2, right? Something like this. So it is coordination number 4. So I will say no stereoisomers, optically inactive. So I will. So what are the possible answers which I can have? I can have platinum En, NO2 twice. This is the first compound. The other compound I can have is platinum En, and the other compound which I can have is so basically I can have 3 linkage isomers. Yes or no? Good question, right? Not very difficult but simple. Trick. Practice. Can you do this question for me? Can you do this question for me? D. D. We just did this question, right? We just did this question. See, this compound is nothing but M. This is cis, this is trans. See this question. Exactly the same question. Hi. D is the right answer. Can you tell me the answer to this question? High spin D6 metal ion octahedral and tetrahedral. Your time starts now. A. This is octahedral. This is tetrahedral. What will be octahedral? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tetrahedral will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I have D6 and high spin matlab no pairing. So if it is no pairing, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This will be, what will be CFSE here? CFSE will be 4 into plus 2 by 4 into minus 2 by 5 into delta naught plus 2 into plus 3 by 5 delta naught. And in this case, what will be the answer? 3 into plus minus 3 by 5 delta t plus 3 into 2 by 5 into delta t. You will get your answer as C. Simple enough. C is the right answer. Now I have a question for you. In this case, is the answer D correct? I'm coming back to this question again. Because there is no pairing, right? In this case, this answer is correct. Yes or no? No. Why? Because you are actually pairing an electron. So right answer in this case will be B. What happened when this question happened was, a lot of kids came to me, they said the answer was minus 0.4 delta naught. They came out happily. Happiness was shortly lived. Yes, you are right. So there was only one person who said, sir, why have you not taken it? So in the heat of the moment, or in, when you are giving the exam in flow, when your questions are happening, this is one mistake which a lot of people will do. They will forget whether pairing is happening or not. There is going to be some energy required for that also. Okay. Can you tell me the answer for this? Quickly. D4. Okay. So D4 for octahedral. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, I will say 4. This. So this is T2G3 EG1. This is T2G4 EG2. So what is the answer? In this case, I can say delta naught is less than pairing, and in this case I can say delta naught is greater than pairing. So if delta naught is less than pairing energy, what will happen? T2G3, so this cannot be correct, this cannot be correct. T2G3 EG1, simple. This is incorrect. So see, these are the type of questions which are coming. Are they not very simple? C is the right answer. Good job, guys. This question. Yes, this question. So if I take manganese, this is a weak field ligand. So no pairing. Coordination number 4. So manganese 2 plus is argon 3d5. Simple enough. So what we have done today is we have understood the idea behind the coordination compound and the type of questions which will come. Obviously it's a huge chapter, so in some places I have left some things for you to revise. In case you need an in-depth thing, you can definitely refer to the micro courses. My idea was to give you an idea that this chapter is a very logical chapter, and if you know the right information, you don't have to remember everything. You just have to use your pen, especially for writing the IUPAC nomenclature rules ones and for writing the isomers ones. That is something which you have to do. Okay, I wish all of you the very best for the next attempt. Please stay calm, give your best shot, and I know you will do very well. Come out with flying colors. Okay, I'll see you then. Best of luck. One more thing. Sorry. In this paper, if you have done well in the first paper, okay, do not get overconfident. Okay, stay focused, stay with your fundamentals, and if you have not done well in the first paper, do not get demotivated. Give it like a new paper altogether. Remove all the baggage. Okay. Now go ahead and nail it. I'll see you then. Bye.
For detailed videos, daily practice problems and live chat, visit academy.amazon.in or download the app.